friends, welcome back to Crime Adjacent Season 8, the case of the Michigan Nightstalker. Here's where things stand. That night, Sunday, as Sheriff Press and Deputy Swanson were putting Bill Laboa into a patrol car at the public dock of Walloon Lake, the car's radio suddenly came to life. The bar manager of Bear River Country Club, Wesley Meeks, had just called 911. This is about 11 p.m., according to the official call logs. He said the Clown Creeper, or the Michigan Nightstalker as they have come to be called, was there, at the club, that very second. According to the transcript of this 911 call, Wesley reported that he and Eileen Coffey were at the bar that night, and the clown sneaked up on Wesley and knocked him over the head from behind. And when he came to, Eileen Coffey was gone. But it gets worse. Wesley said he could hear the Clown Creeper prowling the country club, honking a loud clown horn and searching for the last victim in this case. Hearing this, Swanson bolted away from the dock. She had to save Eileen. Now, immediately, her adopted mother was in danger. So Swanson and I raced off to the Bear River Country Club that night. And Press, meanwhile, stayed behind at the dock to deal with Bill Laboa, who, it turned out, was not only a horrible sextortionist and cyber blackmailer, but also pretty quick on his feet. Not in a good way. As Press was preparing to bring him into jail, Bill spoke up. "You know," he said, "I can help you identify this guy. If we can make a deal." Here's the story. But first, so I've been telling you for a few weeks now about a change of pace for this show, and here's what I mean. Standalone singular cases instead of season-long story arcs. And the first case I have for you is wild. 3 men, 3 separate flights, 3 separate cities altogether. These men, they don't know each other at all, but each comes home from a flight and reports to their loved ones that they feel heavy. That's the only connection. They feel heavy. And within hours, they're dead. All of them. But curiously, from natural causes. So how and why and who? I cannot wait to share this story with you. So stay tuned for more details or check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/crimeadjacent, for behind-the-scenes glimpses at what's next for Crime Adjacent. I'll see you there. From San Francisco, this is Crime Adjacent, the never-ending true crime story told weekly. I'm Chase Patrick. For Eileen Coffey, Sunday, September 29th, 2024, started off weird, to say the least. For starters, one of her realtors, Allison Barnes, had been murdered at an open house on Clinton Street just the day before. Then, another realtor, Ebony Astor, is hosting an open house of her own, and the Clown Creeper is upstairs in that house, honking a clown horn, chasing after her. And then, to top it all off, when Eileen wakes up Sunday, her husband, Bill, has this big idea. He'd stage an open house for the Clinton Street house that day, and he'd sell it himself, and he'd donate all the money to the Barnes family to do something for them. And Eileen thought, sure, go for it, why not? They were both honestly sort of struggling with what to do. Some guy was out there breaking into cabins and murdering their realtors. If Bill wanted to feel like he was doing something, why not? So that morning, Bill goes off to the Clinton Street house to prepare, and Eileen makes a few phone calls to friends, to clients, to realtors, to Swanson, just to check in. It's just a typical Sunday, really. Calls, business, lunch. She and Bill planned to have a talk that night about a topic that had become a routine fight between them. Whether to sell their real estate company and move south to Florida, where they'd been spending winter months in recent years. Eileen wanted to go. Bill wanted to stay. Eileen, in fact, worried that this open house showing would only convince Bill that he still got it, and her plan to sell the company would be thwarted for one more year. Eileen worried their talk that night would be bad. But then, around 2 p.m., a new phone number suddenly appeared on her phone. At first she thought it was spam. It's usually always spam. But Eileen is a realtor with a huge empire of offices and agents and employees across the entire swath of northern Michigan. Unlike the rest of us, she can't just send unknown callers to voicemail. This call could be a client, or a bank, or a homeowner, or a neighbor, or one of her own realtors, or perhaps even her husband, Bill. So Eileen picked up this call, listened for a few seconds, and suddenly, her whole world caved in. It was Deputy Alex Swanson, her adopted daughter, calling not from her personal cell, but from her work cell, her police cell. Eileen knew immediately that something was wrong. Swanson never used this phone. And sure enough, Swanson told her that Bill, her husband, had been murdered by the Nightstalker at the Clinton Street house just hours ago. Swanson felt horrible for doing this over the phone. After all, Bill is her adopted dad, Eileen her adopted mother. This should be done in person. They should grieve together. Plus, well, spouses are usually likely suspects and should be told this news in person to gauge responses. So Swanson knew she was breaking protocol, even if this was her mother, and even if she knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that Eileen was not responsible. But mostly, Swanson was thinking about speed. Remember, because of the clown creeping and the Nightstalker and the murders, by this point, the town was overrun. Swanson knew that this was a small town. Word traveled fast, and all those news crews outside of the Clinton Street house would make sure of it. Swanson wanted Eileen to hear this horrible news from her, not some TV broadcast or reporter at her front door. Plus, despite her own grief, Swanson had an ulterior motive. She needed information, fast. Swanson said later that it might have just been shock. Her adopted dad had just been murdered. Swanson herself had been stabbed just days prior. She should have been with Eileen, not out trying to solve this case. Swanson told me later in an interview, "Honestly, I was pissed. Someone was out there causing so much misery in my town, and I wanted to stop this guy. That's all I kept thinking about. I had to stop this guy." So on this phone call with Eileen, Swanson probed around a sensitive topic. Swanson was sure that if she had the right information, she might be able to catch Bill's killer in action that very afternoon, perhaps cleaning up or trying to establish an alibi. Time was critical here. So Swanson gingerly began to ask her own adopted mother, the woman who raised her after the fire, about all of Bill and Eileen's affairs. That seems like an incorrect word. Bill and Eileen had a super open marriage, and so I don't know what to call these. Hookups? They're not secret affairs. They both just hooked up with others. They both knew about it. The whole town knew about it. And while Swanson was raised in this household and it was quite literally no biggie for her, and she knew it was no biggie for Bill or Eileen, she also knew, as a deputy, that some of these affairs or hookups were most definitely biggies for other people. So Swanson needed to know if any former lovers or spouses of Bill's lovers or just anyone at all had been making threats or doing anything out of the ordinary. For instance, Bill had established a relationship with Allison Barnes, who was married, yes, but also murdered the previous day. There had to be a connection, right? Eileen herself never interfered with married couples and told Bill it was a bad idea. Still, maybe Allison's husband knew and wanted revenge? Swanson wanted to know as many details as possible. But Eileen said no. She couldn't think of anyone. Except for the murders and break-ins around the lake, things seemed fine for Bill and Eileen. Their only real argument or friction was about not lovers, but whether or not to retire to move to Florida or stay for a few more years. That's it. For the record, as I mentioned a few episodes back, Allison Barnes' husband was cleared of everything. He had solid alibis for both murders and no connections to this case. So on this phone call, with no leads at all, Swanson was trying to gently probe for more information, anything to help track down Bill's killer. But it was this exact moment outside the open house when Swanson spotted high schooler and trumpet player Emily Willis walking down the street that afternoon, scared. Swanson said she had to go, fast. She had a possible lead. So she told Eileen to stay at the Bear River Country Club that night, not to go home alone. There would be people at the club, at least a few of them anyway. Swanson said she would meet Eileen there later that night. They'd grieve together and mourn Bill, and if they wanted, they could figure out a plan to leave this lakeside community once and for all. Both of them. So you already know what happened for the rest of the night, from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Swanson tracked down Emily Willis and convinced her to help bring down Bill Laboa, that pint-sized, horrible cyber hacker. Swanson recounted later that as she and Press were arresting Laboa, putting him in the cop car, all she could think about was Eileen and heading to the country club to be with her. It had been a horrible, horrible week, topped off by the murder of her own adopted father. What else could possibly go wrong, Swanson remembers thinking. It was then that the patrol car radio blurted out a call from dispatch. The country club manager, Wesley, had just called 911 with a chilling cry for help. He told 911 that the clown creeper was there, at the club, honking a horn around the cavernous vacant spaces and searching for one person in particular, Eileen. Hearing this, Swanson and I immediately raced over to the club. She fishtailed down Grueler Road and sped down the highway, pushing her patrol car to the club. Sheriff Press, meanwhile, stayed behind to deal with Bill Laboa. And that's when Bill spoke up. That's how this night ended, with 2 separate search parties hunting for the same killer. Swanson and me at the country club, and Press and Bill Laboa at the dock. In the patrol car, handcuffed and cagey, Bill said, "Hey, maybe we can cut a deal." At first, Press told him to shut it and reminded him that anything he said could be used against him. And Bill says, "Sure, but what if what I said can be used not against me, but for me?" He said they'd go to his house, to his computer hub central station, and he would look through every video and scrap of data he could find to see if he might track down exactly who the killer is, who, again, Swanson and I were racing after at that very moment. In exchange, Press would have to argue that Bill helped out, that in this hour of need, he really came through. And Press, reluctantly, agreed. She said she couldn't actually promise any reduction in charges, but that his cooperation would eventually, maybe, make things easier for him, either in future charges or sentencing. And so that's where things stood at about 11 p.m. that night, Sunday, the final night. Swanson and I raced to the country club to save Eileen and arrest this clown once and for all, while Press and Bill Laboa found themselves in Bill Laboa's bedroom. And it was a scene. It had a central hub of 10 monitors and seemingly endless computers and phones and wires, like a spider web of cables and crime. But the thing is, what happened next was, indeed, helpful. Swanson and I didn't know this, of course. Like I said, we were racing to the country club in her patrol car. The clown was there, roaming the clubhouse, searching for Eileen and honking this clown horn over and over again. Wesley could hear it echoing throughout the ballrooms and hallways. He was hiding behind the bar, and he didn't know where Eileen was, he said. All he could hear was the horn, the clown horn. There it was again. It just stuck with me. I asked Swanson if anyone had ever reported a clown horn tied to this case. She said no. Or wait, never mind. Actually, one time. It wasn't Yuki and Travers. She was murdered and no neighbor saw or heard a thing. Not Allison, who was also murdered, and again, no one heard a thing. Not Michaels or Bill Coffey, and not any of the women who reported being stalked and assaulted by the clown. Not Claire or Aubrey or Aitana or Joanna. No, Swanson said. Only one person ever reported hearing a clown horn. Was that it? Was that anything? I quickly got on the phone. Realtors, clown horns, some vague notion was trying to take shape in my thinking, but I couldn't place it. So I did what I usually do in situations like this. I called Nikki, who then patched me through to Dorothy, our crime-adjacent computer pro. I asked if she could tap into the computer system at Bill Laboa's house, where Sheriff Press and Bill were going over all the video footage Bill had found around town, all his secret cameras and blackmail bait. Of course, Dorothy said. No problem. So back at Bill's bedroom spider computer hub, Bill grunted. His screens had just blinked and blacked out and then come to life again. Bill had seen invasions before, and he seemed more put out than actually concerned. But then a voice came over the speakers and told him to stop. Bill immediately recognized the voice and the skills it required to hack into his network, which he presumed was impenetrable. He said, "Hey, you're the person from the BMW." Dorothy, for her part, said she had no idea what he was talking about. Press didn't ask. She simply said, whatever the hell is happening here needs to happen faster. So Dorothy and Bill formed a makeshift team and got to work. And what they found was chilling. Bill had hidden cameras everywhere, in Claire's cabin, Aubrey's, Aitana's, and so many others. And he didn't just have hidden cameras, he had evidence of the clown creeper on camera, breaking in and assaulting all these women. Press shook her head. Jesus, kid, why didn't you report this? What's wrong with you? And Bill simply shrugged, saying, what's in it for me? I could sell these videos for thousands on the dark web. Dorothy interrupted, stopping this nonstop scroll of video footage on the computers. On one screen, there was an image of the masked clown, frozen as he approached Claire's bed. This clown was tall and skinny and moved with a lightness and quietness. Importantly, no horn was visible. And then, on another screen, was an image from Aubrey's bedroom. Another clown. Again, tall and skinny and light. Same guy. But again, no horn. Dorothy spoke through a speaker. Do you have any images of Allison at the Clinton Street house? Bill shook his head. No, he said. He only had hidden cameras like this at the lake. Press frowned, disappointed. But then all the screens suddenly went black again. Then they did that green matrix thing and turned on. But this time, there was an image of inside the Clinton Street house where Allison was murdered and then Bill just hours earlier. Dorothy had somehow tapped into the house's TV system. And Bill's computer screens suddenly showed images from inside this house, from all the TVs. The video blurred forward to when Allison was attacked in the kitchen, and the screen suddenly froze. The clown was visible, but different than the others. Same tan coat, same clown mask, but not as tall. It was hard to tell. Press said definitely shorter, and maybe a little pudgier, and I think slower. And yet, still, no clown horn. Press had an idea. She said, show me all the clowns, put them all together. And suddenly all the clowns were on the screen. The lakeside creeper clown was indeed taller and skinnier against the clown who was inside Allison's house. How about Yuki? Anything there? Press asked. The screens went black again, then green, and then, suddenly, they were alive, and they were all looking at the last moments of Yuki Sugita in Traverse City as witnessed by a Samsung Smart TV. Bill's eyes glowed like he was hungry to tap into this skill. It was incredible. Press, for her part, was horrified at witnessing a murder as viewed through the TV at the house in Traverse City. All of the clowns appeared on the screens again, side by side. It was obvious by now. The clown who killed Allison and Yuki was different than the break-in foot rub clown who was tall and lanky, like Meeks. So that's two clowns. They knew that. Meeks did the break-ins and foot rubs, and Michaels, the shorter, pudgier, slower clown, did the murders of Yuki and Allison, the realtors. It was obvious by now. Press had another revelation. Now show me Michaels, the murder of Roger Michaels. Again, blank screens, green screens, and then, suddenly, a new clown altogether. Inside Michael's house, as viewed from a 100-inch big screen TV in his living room. And this clown was much, much shorter than the other two. By far, it was evident. And to top it all off, this clown held something in their left hand. A horn. It was brass and straight with a big black squeeze ball on one end, and it was clear the clown was squeezing it. Bill squinted at the screen. He nodded his head. He said, "I know exactly who this third clown is. Would you like me to find their current location?" Next time on Crime Adjacent. Swanson slammed the patrol car to a stop at the front entrance of the country club. She bolted into the lobby, gun drawn. Even from outside, I could hear the clown horn echoing throughout the enormous clubhouse. It was eerie and dark and vacant. Somewhere inside, Wesley Meeks was hiding in the bar, waiting for help, and Eileen Coffey, I presumed, was also hiding. But there was a third person, the person we were after. This was it, the final showdown with the person who quite possibly masterminded everything. But something just itched inside of me. There was just something I couldn't put my finger on. Why the horn? And why Eileen Coffey? If you're enjoying this show, please let me know what you think with a like and a review on your favorite listening app. From San Francisco, this is Chase Patrick with a reminder. It's not crime, it's crime adjacent. I'll see you next week.